Hello, Johannes Keating here. Perseverating and obsessing over past slights, transgressions, abuses. Giving past slights, transgressions, and abuses undue proportion, where it overtakes your life. Number three, not seeing yourself as having any agency, options, or choices. Number four, experiencing yourself as being victimized when that's not actually happening. Again, that connects to things taking on greater proportion than what's commensurate to what's actually happening. And five, giving away your power and your control through these mechanisms. And number six, getting even with people, being miserable and in a sense saying, look what you've done to me. You should feel bad about yourself. And seven, splitting, seeing yourself as a helpless, injured party, seeing the other person as a perpetrator, as a demon, as a monster. These are all core ingredients that go into the victimized position. It's a defense, and it's something that often comes up in psychotherapy, especially with people with slightly lower ego adaptive capacity that have had more trauma in their childhoods. We absolutely need to acknowledge suffering that is at the hands of other people, actual victimization that has occurred. Someone was raped, someone was abused, neglected, abandoned. These physically assaulted. These things deserve to be acknowledged. We sometimes even need to spend portions of psychotherapy treatment helping the patient really acknowledge all that has happened to them and grieve that. But do we want to spend the focus there indefinitely? Probably not, because we're shortchanging the patient if we do that. The question is whatever pain the patient is experiencing, is all of that really necessary, or is some of it a result of the patient exacerbating that pain by virtue of how they're dealing with it? Like getting even by taking a victimized position. Look what you've done to me. You should feel bad about yourself. That's unnecessary neurotic pain that doesn't have to be there. The underlying sadism and aggression behind that sort of guilt trip can be worked through. And then the patient doesn't have to be burdened anymore with feeling so miserable and victimized. So let's say a patient comes in and they're feeling slighted to the core because their husband forgot their birthday. Okay, it was an honest, innocent mistake, worthy of being annoyed about, angry about, sad about for 10, 15 minutes, sure, fine. But if it goes on beyond that, it's really taking on far greater proportions than what is commensurate to what happened. In all likelihood, they're importing and projecting and displacing moments from their past or their childhood where they really were victimized, but they're taking that template and projecting it on their husband or humanity. And often this can become a cornerstone of someone's felt sense of identity. And then organizing their life around trying never to be forgotten again, maybe becoming really compliant and people pleasing. And so all of this goes into the victimized position. It's a form of giving away your power and your control, not recognizing that as an adult, we do have options and we do have choices, unless someone has a gun to your head or, you're homeless. But even if you're homeless, there are certain social services. And so tuning out that we do have options and choices is another cornerstone of this defense mechanism. Some people, they spend a lot of time talking about trauma, how we were traumatized. And of course, that deserves to be acknowledged and explored and investigated and dealt with. But my concern with this narrative is that with this sort of a focus, we often lose sight of how we compound our trauma, how we compound our suffering, how we actually victimize ourselves, how we actually oppress ourselves, typically unconsciously. This is not victim blaming. It's recognizing that how we deal with pain, with anger, with sadness, with overwhelm, with anxiety, can either exacerbate that pain or it can alleviate that pain. And with the proper help, we can learn how to process upsets, transgressions, violations, abuses in ways that liberate us, empower us, free us up to move on with our lives.